Good morning, stringers. This is Cal Peterson, also known as Voodoo Stick Mod, or I believe a new name for me is also Feral Yard Demon, which I willingly accept. We are going to be making a zip bag today with a dangle, so I'm actually going to show you how to do the dangle today. I don't always do that, but I thought why not add it in here, because this one's a little bit different, okay? This one is going to be a coin op zip bag with a quarter keeper dangle. I don't think Ricky's ever done a quarter keeper before, so this will be fun, something new. The dangle has very few steps to it. There's your, let me grab a pen here. There is your die line for where you're going to place the vinyl. So this is your die line for placement. Then you have the detail. Then you have the eyelet die line. And then you have the part that attaches the back. Okay. So that's it. 4 color stops. Easy peasy. All right. Once we get to the zip bag, then I will go over all of the steps on that, so we're not confusing you right out of the gate. What am I going to need to do this? I'm going to need a hoop with some cutaway stabilizer. Yes, I have black cutaway stabilizer. It's a great thing if you don't want the white edge showing, if you maybe have something, I don't know. I don't find it a big deal because the vinyl often has a white backing that shows even if you use the black stabilizer, but I have it, so I'm going to use it because I think you'll be able to see like the die lines and things easier on this. And you're going to need a couple of pieces of vinyl or a piece of vinyl and some sort of no fray lightweight backing like an Olifun. I'm going to use vinyl for both of mine just because I think it'll be sturdier since you're going to be putting a quarter in this thing. So I think it'll be a little bit sturdier this way. All right, so and that's all you need for this one. Besides, you will need an eyelet. Let me go grab those. It's going to take me a minute because they're kind of hidden here. All right, now that I have my stuff here, I'm going to need some sort of eyelet punch. I have this one, which is really great. It's both a setter and a punch. So I like that one. Got it from Amazon. And then you're going to need some eyelets. I believe mine are 5/30 seconds or something like that. I don't know what this says, but they're all in a big box, so I don't know. So I have a bunch of different colors. So I'll pick whichever one I think matches once I finish this up. So I'm going to set that stuff aside, and then I'm also going to need some sort of ball chain attachment like these to attach it to the bag later on. So I will decide what of that I want to use later. So again, I'm going to put this off to the side. So all we have to do now is take our hoop stabilizer, put it on the machine, and we're going to run the first color stop 1. Okay, I am back, and hopefully you can see this. Ran the die line for the placement. Okay, so that's going to show me where to place my vinyl. So I'm going to take my top piece of vinyl, and I'm just going to use a couple of pieces of painter's tape to just hold it down. Don't need a lot here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 2. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I stitched color stop 2. I accidentally stitched 3, so ignore that. We're going to pretend I didn't do that. I'm going to look for there it is, a tool that I have, because now I need to cut this out before I put the back on, because I want to cut the front but not the back so that we can shove a quarter in there. I have this little tool, it's called a buttonhole cutter, and I think I'm going to use that, and I am just going to grab my hammer And I don't want to do this on my cutting mat because it'll leave a mar in this. So I have just this just polycarbonate cutting board. So I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to just set this here. Okay. And I'm just going to do a little cutting with this. Careful I don't get too close to. This is really just to start. Now, if you were really precise and you could make a line the whole way across, you could just cut a slit like that, or you could use an X-Acto knife to cut it. But I'm going to actually, I want to cut more of this out. I don't just want I mean, you could leave just a slit, but I'm going to trim a little bit of that out. So I'm going to very carefully take my scissors and I'm going to trim without, I don't want to cut the stitches, so I'm being very careful not to do that. Not the easiest thing to show on video, but we're getting there. Okay. Make sure that's cut. All right. Okay, so that's looking a little ragged. So I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to try to clean up any odd edges. Again, I'm trying to do this where I'm cutting the vinyl, but I'm not cutting my stitches. Okay. Oops, turn that. It probably would have worked better if I would have cut the edges with my X-Acto knife first before I use my scissors. Alrighty. Now again, you can just take your X-Acto knife and just cut a single slice right in there if you feel that will work better. Oops, some fuzz there. Trying to see what I got there going on. Looks like there might be a little bit of stabilizer in this corner. I'm going to try to get out here. Yep. Gotta flip it to the back to kind of see there. Yeah, okay. All right, now that hole's probably a little bit big for a quarter, so you probably do just want to make a slice. But we'll see. I'll find a quarter and we'll test it out when we're done. So now what's our next step? We are going to flip our hoop over and we're going to attach the back, okay? I'm gonna grab some tape. Because we need to tape this down, attach it some way, otherwise gravity is going to take this right off, because gravity is not our friend when adding backings. All right, so now that that's done, now I'm going to run color stop 3 and 4. Remember, I didn't pretend I didn't stitch 3. So we'll put this back on the machine, run color stops 3 and 4. I have attached the backing, so I'm going to flip this over, and I used black thread on the back of this here so that you guys could see it better, but I would not recommend that. I would recommend matching the thread, but totally up to you. Normally I would match my threads, but again, video, it's better if it's a little bit of a contrast to the vinyl so you can see it better. I'm just cleaning up any thread tails on the back here. I'll grab my tweezers. Since that one's being picky. All right, so that's somewhat cleaned up. All right, now I'm going to take off this tape. And I'm going to pop this out of the hoop. All right. All right, put this away since I won't need this hoop size for the next thing. Okay, all right, so now we have to cut this out, right? First, we're going to test our quarter. Okay, it does fit in there. No, it doesn't fall out. So it might get loose over time, so I would recommend maybe not doing the, just doing the slit instead of cutting the whole hole out. All right, now I'm going to cut around this with my scissors. I just use, these are Kai 5210s. That's what I use to cut most of this stuff out. Just being careful as you go. Turn your vinyl, not your scissors. All right, then up around the hanger. Okay. All right, there looks like there's a little bit of a funky spot there, so I can just go back and clean it up a little bit. Get rid of all of our trash. Now we need to punch the hole for our eyelet. You can use the like hold and hammer style punch if that's what you have. But like I said, I have this tool, so I'm going to use it. And I use it upside down. It's like, as far as being able to, like, some people will just stick it in there like this, and I use it so that I can see through the hole where the punch is going to come out. So I kind of line up the circle there. Okay, now I think I'm just going to go with your basic silver. Okay. And I have washers for my eyelets. If you don't have eyelets with washers, I recommend getting some like that because they do have a much cleaner back on that. All right, this is bothering me. There's a little funky spot here. Looks weird. All right, so now I'm gonna insert my eyelet, and then I'm gonna put my washer on the back. And I'm going to put it in my tool and squeeze. There we go. Okay. All right, so that is attached. We have our quarter in there, and now I'm just going to set this aside because now we have to move on to the next part, which is our bag. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up some things here real quick so I don't hurt myself because I've cut myself already this week a few times. All right, so what are we doing next? We're going to do the coin op zip bag. All right, let's go through our PDF. So the first color stop is our die line for the whole bag. Then we have a zipper placement. Then we have a zipper tack down, okay? Actually, no, we don't. We have a we have a die line and then a zipper tack, and then we have a vinyl tack down. Okay, ignore what I said. So die line with the zipper part, then a zipper tack down, then a vinyl tack down. Then we have our detail, and this is a simple bag. It's only got one color for all the detail. And then all this stuff here, 5 through 10, is all lining and backing, okay? So we'll go through all that step by step, and hardware. And then we have this one here, last stop is do not stitch. That's the centering, the anti-centering stitch for single needles, so that it forces the needle off to the side instead of automatically centering, because on single needles you don't have as much clearance of the foot, and that can, if it's auto centers after it's finished with the part you need to stitch, it can actually cause things to get pulled and dragged and torn and all that. So we're not gonna do that part. So we need some stuff for this. We need a hoop that has some medium cutaway stabilizer in it. So I have that all set up. We're going to need a zipper that is at least 2 inches longer than the opening of your bag. I buy mine in bulk, all long enough to do a horizontal 8x12 bag, so I can cut them down to any size I need. You're going to need some vinyl pieces for the front, a vinyl piece for the back. If you want to use fabric, you absolutely can on this bag, but you're going to need to take care of it in the way that you would for the lining. So for the lining, I'm going to need a backing piece, and I'm going to need 2 pieces for the front. These are, I have turned down a 1/2 inch and pressed, okay? If you're going to do the outer of the bag in fabric, cut your pieces the same size as the lining in the PDF. All your cut sizes will be in the PDF, okay? Oh, we're going to need some hardware. So let me go grab that. For hardware, you can use lobster claws or you can use D-rings. You can use 2 for the top of the bag, 1 for the side of the bag, or all 3, totally up to you. You can use lobster claws for the top if you want as well. It's total personal choice, okay? You can use a D-ring for the side and make a wristlet strap that has the claw on it if you want. I usually use, if I'm just going to do a single side attach, I usually use a lobster claw, because then they can just clip it onto another bag or something that they're using it for. I'm going to need some ribbon. Let me see, what do I have over here in my ribbon stash? Doesn't look like I have anything in a silvery gray, so I will use red to coordinate with the top attach. So I'm going to need a couple of pieces that are 3 inches. If I'm going to do a top attach, 2 top attaches, I'm going to need 2 pieces. If I'm going to do a side attach as well, I'll need a 3rd. And then I need some others for the zipper tabs. And again, I do not have silver, so I'm just going to use this darker gray. But that ribbon is not wide enough, so let me see what else I got. See, now I'm letting you see, as they say, how the sausage is made. Oh, look, some silver. And this is almost 1 inch. It's 7/8, so it's close enough. Let's see, so I need 2 pieces of that are gonna be 2 inches long. Alrighty, put all of this stuff away. Normally I have all this stuff all prepped and ready. As you can see, I'm not exactly firing on all cylinders here today. It could be because I've been snowed in since Friday. All right, so now I need to, since I have all my stuff, all right, other things you're gonna need: scissors, tape. I like to have a lighter on hand so I can singe the ends of my ribbon, but I think I have everything here. Showed you everything you need. So we're gonna put this on the machine and we're gonna run color stop 1, okay? Hopefully you can see this okay. I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, looks like you can, great. Okay, so I have all of the placement lines. So now I need my zipper, and this is really long, so I'm just going to hack off a bit of the extra. Okay, no need to worry about the end really, but I'm gonna seal it. Okay, so now I need to place this. You can see you have this here in the very center, and then there's 2 lines above and 2 lines below. We want to stick it in between to cover this part here. If you're using a number 5 zipper, you're going to need to make sure those teeth fit right along this box. This is why I always use number 3s on zipper bags like this. Okay. And I'm going to tape this down. Okay. Tape on both ends. All right. If you want, you can add an extra small piece of tape. Sometimes I do this if my zipper's super wavy, and just tape it so that it stays where you want it, okay? Now I'm gonna put this on the machine. I'm gonna run color stop 2. Color stop 2 is finished, and it tacked our zipper in place. So now I can pull up these 2 pieces of tape. All right, now I need my zipper tab ribbons, and I'm gonna fold those in half. So they go from a 2 inch by 1 inch ribbon to a 1 inch by 1 inch ribbon. And this is where having a lighter comes in handy. I'm just gonna seal the ends of this so they don't fray. And then I'm gonna put this so that it's about halfway over the die line. So 1/2 inch hanging out, 1/2 inch hanging in. And we want the raw edges to be outside. Okay. And I'm just gonna tape that like that. I'm gonna singe the edges of the other side and place that. If it's not exactly 1/2 inch, it's fine. You're just eyeballing this here. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just to help have a zipper stop, so the zipper can only go so far. All right, now I need to take the vinyl pieces that I have for the front and stick those in place so they're covering the die lines. All right, vinyl for the top. Grab a couple more pieces of tape here. Vinyl for the bottom. Again, making sure that we're covering all of the die lines. Whoops. Top, bottom, sides, and I'm just making sure that is okay there. And then I'm just going to tape down these corners in case the vinyl wants to curl up. All right. Now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 3 and 4. Okay, 3 is going to tack this down, and then 4 is going to run the design. Now I'm going to tell you right now, it's on the top. It's only going to tack part way, and that's what we want it to do. The rest will get tacked down later. So it's okay if this top tack down of your vinyl doesn't go all the way across. Okay, the front is all done. So what I need to do is I need to trim out the stabilizer behind the zipper here. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I forgot to do it before I did the next step. So we're just going to pretend right now that I did not do that. I drew some lines extending out the die lines on the back just so that I could see where to place my fabrics. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to take a seam ripper and I'm going to put a little cut in there, okay? Then I'm going to close this back up, okay? Tuck my ribbon back under and put tape down again. Now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to grab my applique scissors and I'm going to cut out the stabilizer back here. Now, because I accidentally attached my fabric before I did this, I am going to have to be very careful. And I don't want to go too far. So do not go past that die line when you're snipping this stuff. Okay. Now I just have to kind of get underneath this fabric that I put on already. Okay. Just to get that out of there. Okay, so now you're going to place your fabric on the bottom and you're going to run color stop 5, okay? Okay, so color stop 5 was run. Now I'm going to place the fabric for the upper part of the lining, and I'm going to place some tape to hold that in place. Okay, flip this up over and just kind of rub to make sure it's all gonna stay. Okay, now I'm gonna put this on the machine. I'm gonna run color stop 6, which is going to tack down most of the way across for the lining. Color stop 6 is finished. It ran across there. I'm just flipping this over so I can see the thread tails here, because again, I'm kind of snipping these as I go. Okay, all right, so now we need to move our zipper head in so that it doesn't get stuck outside of the bag. So I'm going to untape again. I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to put the ribbon back under the vinyl and tape the vinyl back down, okay? And you want this to be open about 3/4 of the way across. You can take a little piece of tape and just kind of stick it over that to keep it from moving, okay? Now I'm going to put this on the machine. I'm going to run color stop 7, which is going to finish this tack down, and then it's going to give us hardware placement lines. And actually, since I'm going to need hardware placement lines, I'm going to move this tape out just a little bit so that it doesn't get stuck in that. So the reason that we needed this to not go all the way across is so that we could move this out of the way to move this inside. It makes it easier than trying to shove it under this ribbon and possibly ripping things. So put this on the machine, run color stop 7 for hardware placement and to finish this final stitch. Color stop 7 has been stitched, so it finished this. Excuse me. And it gave us some placement lines for our hardware. I'm just flipping over and again trimming thread tails just to clean up the back. Now I need to place my hardware. So I'm going to take my ribbons that I used for that. Now this is 5/8 ribbon and 5/8 hardware. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but it will have that in the PDF. So that would have been stuff that would be known before now. All right, and I like to cinch my ends closed. Sometimes it connects the two ends of the ribbon, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, now I'm going to place this so the raw edges are outside the bag, the hardware's inside. Okay, you want to make sure your hardware is far enough away, whoops, from your tack down for your foot. Okay, so you could make these longer. I know this will work with my machine. If you have a single needle, I suggest leaving a tad more ribbon to the inside, just because the way the foot moves is slightly different than the machine I'm using. Okay, and I tape down my hardware so it doesn't jangle. So like I use this stitch line for like judging how far in to put my hardware. Because I can get away with that on a multi-needle. For your single needles, I would probably go down to lay the hard. That one just does not want to go where I want it to go. The hardware base for a single needle, I would put on the zipper at minimum. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back on the machine. I'm going to run color stop 8, which is going to tack the hardware in place. Hardware has been tacked down, so now I'm just going to do one more cleanup on the back for thread tails. Take my lint roller here. It's very staticky in my house right now. Okay, flip this over to the front. Now we need to place our vinyl for our front. Okay, so I can take off some of this tape. I don't need those there. I don't need all this stuff over here, or this over here, or these. I am leaving these things to hold all that hardware in place. Then I'm going to place my backing vinyl. Okay. And I'm going to tape that down. Corners. Change that a little bit. All right. Set those off to the side. Okay, now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 9. Okay, the backing of the bag, which is going to be the vinyl, that is stitched down. So now I need to flip this over, and we're going to add our back lining piece. So I am just going to make sure that everything is covered. And I'm going to tape that down. Okay. Oops. There's a little bit astray there. Is taped. Whoops. Flip it over. Just kind of rubbing to make sure the tape stays. Now I'm going to put this back on the machine. I'm going to run color stop 10, and I am not going to run 11. Repeat, do not stitch color stop 11. Just ignore it. Run color stop 10 and then take the hoop off the machine. I am back. The back has been stitched on. Cleaning up thread tails. Okay, now I can unhoop all this. And put my hoop away. Now, I'm gonna flip this to the back, and I need to, there's an opening here so we can turn everything. So I'm gonna take my scissors, and I'm going to trim up to, but not through the stitching there. Okay, and then I'm going to tape this. Grab some tape. I'm going to take this and fold this down, and I'm going to tape that out of the way. Okay, and now I can pull off all of this stuff because I don't need it anymore. Okay. Flip this over, and now I need to cut out around my bag. Now, you can cut with scissors, you can use a rotary cutter and a ruler, okay? I am going to cut with a rotary cutter and a ruler on 3 sides. So the bottom, okay, and these 2 sides first. Okay, leaving about 1/8 of an inch of all the stuff, okay? Because you don't want to cut on the stitching and take your bag apart. So cutting down like that. Okay, now comes this part. So we tape this out of the way, which we need to do. I do mine a little different than other people. I'm going to fold this up, okay? So I'm folding my ribbons out of the way because this, for me, I've had ribbons that pull out of bags if they've been trimmed off, okay? So that's what I'm doing there. That's why I need to tape this out of the way because we want these pieces, okay? We need those. All right, now I can flip it over and I can see where I trimmed everything. And I'm gonna very carefully trim this side to take off that piece of vinyl. Now, that's why I said you can do this with scissors. So you have, use a rotary cutter a lot, so that's my preferred method. Now I need to round off these corners so that the bag can turn nicer. All right, so I'm just taking my scissors and rounding stuff. Okay, this one here, I'm just gonna move my ribbons out of the way so that I don't accidentally catch them, and I usually like to come at this one from the opposite side, then the ribbon can stay in place and I can go across like that. Now this looks a little bit, there's a lot there, so I'm just going to take my scissors now and I can trim that vinyl a little bit more. Okay, because that, it's bothering me that there's more than like 1/8 of an inch of it, but I still want to be careful because I don't want to cut into those ribbons. Okay, so I have that. All right, just going to take out some of this excess stuff from the middle. I'm holding both my ribbons and the tab for turning out of the way. Okay, once you're happy with all that, then we need to turn this thing. Excuse me again. So just get off any schmutz that's on it. Now we need to turn this. Now I recommend that you can take this over to an iron and just kind of steam it a little bit. It'll make it turn easier, okay? Because we don't want to tear things if we can avoid it. This vinyl that I use is pretty soft, so I'm taking my chances that it won't tear things up too bad. But again, heat it up with an iron pressed, you know, from the inside like this, so that it makes the vinyl more flexible for you, or you can use a hair dryer. Okay. And I'm just very gently coaxing it through there so that I don't tear up the tab area there. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of use my fingers, poke things out somewhat there, and then I always have chopsticks laying around for this part. So I'm just gonna kind of poke out my corners. And yes, I know the bag is inside out. That is okay right now, because I am just trying to get things to look somewhat nice so that it makes it easier on the final turn. So I need to open this zipper up, and I'm reaching inside and I'm grabbing out all the pieces of tape that were still on the hardware in there. Okay. Sorry if I was off camera there. All right. Now, this tab needs to get tucked in, okay? And you can either take a needle and thread and stitch it closed, or you can glue it. Lately, I glue it because it's faster. Once I get the glue flowing in the bottle, it's faster. All right, now I'm just going to run a little line of glue. Doesn't have to be a ton, it's just right below that stitching line there. And then I'm going to press the nice folded in tab onto it. Okay, now you might want to leave your set, depending on how long your glue takes to set up. This glue that I have, which I cannot get anymore, so I'm nursing that bottle. It sets up really fast. Okay, so I see a few thread tails here. I'm just gonna take care of. Toaster, stop whining. Yeah, Meeps doesn't visit me very often now because she doesn't like toast, which makes working a little more efficient when you don't have a cat in the way. But Toast is kind of whiny. All right, so now I need to turn the whole bag. So now I'm going to reach in and turn. Okay, just turning that stuff. Okay. Reaching in. Just see, I find that if I poke out the corners on the lining, it makes turning the outside a little easier as far as the corners go. And then I can still use my chopstick to kind of to push them out fully, but at least I have a pretty good start there. And now I'm just going to turn this top part here. Okay. This vinyl is actually nice and soft, so it's sturdy but soft, so it's made turning this bag much easier. Now I'm just gonna kind of roll these edges a little bit, so that, especially the one with the stitching that's a little stiffer, and then I can zip my zipper and kind of roll my vinyl. And then now what I can do is I can take this and set it under something heavy to give it a final flatten, because it's vinyl, it's trying to fight you. But once that's done flattening, what I would do is I would take my dangle and attach it to the zipper. And there you go. You have a coin-op zip bag. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the String Theory Fabric Art fan group, or you can check out the YouTube page for the videos that go with things. You can also get the design at stringtheoryfabricart.com.